Back and before the break, we were talking about the University of Wyoming, students going there. Before, in these past few years, there's been some cutbacks at the school. How do you plan to address the University of Wyoming, make it profitable, make it sustainable in the future?
Sure. Well, first let me say that Lori Nichols, Dr. Nichols, has done a great job. We've talked over the last couple of years about how we can run the funding a little bit better. There's one of the trust funds that I was in charge of as treasurer was something called the Excellence in Higher Education Fund. A little bit volatile, mineral income comes and goes, caused some big reductions in staff. So talking about making a more resilient program. She's looked at, how do we make the university work better? How do we make sure that we have majors that make sense for states? So, one of our big industries is tourism. Let's figure out a way to help with tourism. But I really look at the whole system that we have, including the community colleges, Casper College and others, and our ability to really lever those up. And you're talking about high school and the opportunities there and the different scholarships. If you can get those advanced placement credits, they're every bit as good as a scholarship, because if you can finish a year early or 2 years early because you've been able to get those placements done, that's fabulous. And I think we should beef that system up.
Well, before you go the full Bernie Sanders, you got to give some consideration to the community college system and what free tuition to the University of Wyoming might mean to the community college system. At least in theory, you'd have to do the same thing there.
We have to consider all Wyoming kids are equal, Frank. Don't misunderstand my thinking there.
Let's discuss education spending. In the past year, we had the budget discussions. Education was a flashpoint for a lot of people.
It still is.
We have one of the best education systems in the country. However, some people think we're spending too much money. What's your thought? How would you direct that next discussion with education spending?
Sure, absolutely. Well, and to set the context for that, we talked a lot about economic diversification and building a workforce and how do we keep the workforce and all of that. I think one of the key elements for us is that there really is no better place to educate your kids than Wyoming. And that means that young families are going to move here. Young families with professionals that will help to build out the economy and help things like, Casper grow, which it's starting to happen. So I do think we need to make sure that we keep our funding up for education. We need to make sure our teachers are well paid. But we've looked at the efficiency study, and that has shown that there are some things we can do that will help us to reduce our overall spend on procurement. We can regionalize some of the buying. I believe it's very important. I served on the school board. I think it's very important that we give school boards the opportunity to make those reductions.
It looks like a lot of people in Wyoming are also in favor of keeping that funding for schools. Didn't one of the state senators lose his seat over education funding? He'd voted against some of the education funding, and he lost in the primary?
Well, he unfortunately was on the wrong committee.
Yeah.
Most people that are on that committee don't last very long.
In line with that education spending, another flashpoint in this campaign for some candidates in the primaries and also some that are running for state auditor is transparency.
Sure.
And you've come under fire at times saying you're not transparent enough, and the school system saying, oh, it's not transparent enough. Can you respond to those accusations?
Well, sure. Actually, I don't think they were leveled at me because
at the budget spending process. I apologize.
And the budget process. And I just want to make that point. The Peterson Institute, which is a well-respected think tank in Washington, ranked Wyoming third in the world. Its investment office third in the world for transparency, first in the nation. It was a great feat. We're very proud of that, and I think that's the kind of effort that I want to put into the whole budgeting process. And that's one reason why, Frank, you were asking about Foster a little bit earlier. That's one reason why Foster and I came to an agreement. Foster, that's one of his big issues. I said, look, Foster, we're going to carry this transparency thing forward. President Bebout said, we're all about that. I've worked with Matt and Cynthia Cloud as well, and Christy Racine. So it's an effort going forward. It doesn't happen quickly because our technology platform is so old that we need to build that up, and that's something that Sam Galiotis and I were able to talk about.
Let me say something to you I want you to think about. It will be quick. One of the biggest problems facing young people today when they get out of college, you know what the biggest one is? Trying to pay back their loans.
Absolutely.
So what if Wyoming had a situation that if you stay in Wyoming, we'll help you with your loan?
All right, well, that answer right after the break. We'll be right back.